God. Well, it's over. It's over.
Finally over.
You know what? Let's not even talk about today. Let's talk about why the season 2 of Ghost Magali McGee is already better. Let's talk about that. Ghost Magali McGee season 2 is better because they did a fucking shuffle dance to their own theme song. That's why it's better.
God, that moment just came out of nowhere.
Just so funny.
Oh, that was perfect. I know this is probably at the point where I should say, ditch the Owl House and go watch,
Anything else?
Lego Monkey Kid, but, I got some bad news about season 4.
Oh, what happened in season 4 of Monkey Kid?
Oh god, it's a lot to get into. Basically, MK goes on this whole fucking self-doubt pity party arc. The show really tries to get into, like, deconstruction of fandom tropes that a bunch of fandom tropes themselves are based on, you know? Really making digs at the whole Monster of the Week formula. It's also the villain is voiced by Chris Sabat, which, given, you know, Sean Schemmel's voicing Wukong, is cute, but, you know.
Chris, isn't that the guy who, isn't that the guy from Total Drama who got fired?
No, you're thinking of Christian Potenza.
Oh, okay.
No, Sabat voices Piccolo and Vegeta.
Oh, okay. All right. We might as well get into it. Season 3 was bad.
It wasn't great.
I know the fandom thinks it's the best thing since Tummy Rubs because it's dramatic and, you know, Luce gets to suffer in it. One guy had this thing, like, had this video up right before the Watching and Dreaming came out claiming, you know, Luce needs to lose. She's lost enough! She has done nothing but lose since, like, season 2B. It has just been one conga line of go eat shit Luce.
This series has already taken an L. We don't need the main character to take one, too.
The main character's already taken enough L's.
Yeah, no, this is an unmitigated mess. You know me. I love edgy, dramatic shit when it's relevant and where it's supposed to be. But, like, take away the fact that this is, like, tonally abysmal and fandom pandering nonsense for the lowest common denominator. This shit is paced fucking awful. Like, just as a story, this shit does not function.
Well, it does the usual thing that adventure fantasy really likes to do, in that the first and second act aren't really considered as places for the story to happen. Like, all the story, like, the thing about, like, especially as they get closer and closer to their end, adventure fantasy shows really like to cram everything into the third act of an episode, and the first and second act is usually just fucking red herrings and lead-ins and all kinds of shit. So, like, I think this is particularly egregious in, like, For the Future, where all of Luce's angst, as well as the fight scenes, the palace bin, all that shit is all crammed into the third act, and the first and second act is just everybody waffling.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, a good case in point for that note is the fucking string bean, which I got an ask about on Tumblr, and someone reblogged my response with, we should be fair and say, and just acknowledge that the show was canceled. So Dana's like, Lily put it best, because season 3 got shortened, everyone's just gonna use that as a fucking deflection for every criticism we make.
Yeah, that's gonna be something we get into more toward the end, but, like, yeah, the fact that the show got canceled will be a deflection for every criticism, even for things that ultimately have nothing to do with the cancellation, even for things that are fundamentally authorial decisions.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I have my problems with Gravity Falls season 2. But, you know, they did the exact same thing of, we were gonna have a third season, but for reasons outside of control, I think this one was authorial burnout, we're just doing a big 3-parter, every episode's 45 minutes, finale. And I got my own problems with those, but you know what they never are? Boring. All 3 parts of Weird Mageddon are never boring. They may have some problems with the writing, but they're consistent problems with writing, and nobody ever gave it the excuse of, well, actually, it didn't get its full 3rd season. No, we all just took it as it was, because at the end of the day, that is what they were given. Dana could have said no and walked away. She chose to take the 3 seasons, even if they were shortened. She made this choice. Stop babying an adult.
Yeah, just babying showrunners. I am so fucking tired of fandom just babying fucking showrunners, acting like they don't have a hand in their own work. I mean, look, fundamentally, at the end of the day, if I was working on a show like this, if I had been in Dana's position and I was like, okay, you're not getting a full 3rd season, you're getting 3 double-length specials, it would have been like, all right, motherfuckers are getting cut. And you know what I wouldn't have done? I wouldn't have added an entirely new villain.
Hi, everyone. This is the Collector. It's my 30th OC that I've had since I was 17. Can you tell by the way they don't fit into the story well?
All right, getting right into it, thanks to them.
Worst Dresden Files book ever, and considering how incel-y those books can get, that's saying something.
Well, Hunter's in this, so it's like, it's kind of incel-y by default.
You know what the saddest part of this is? Despite this one being pissed, this is still probably the best of the 3, which is, an explanation for the kind of ride we are in on. This shit boring.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Thanks to Them is because Thanks to Them doesn't have, like, the faux urgency of the rest of the plot. It's basically like, okay, we're stuck here. We gotta find a way back to the demon realm. And then that's it. They spend the next few months trying to find a way back to the demon realm. And that's kind of used as a vector for, a lot of character stuff. I think this is, ironically, this is the first time Hunter has actually been worth a piss as a character.
Oh, yeah.
It's the first time he does anything as a character. It's the first time his character actually amounts to anything other than sitting there and moping. Granted, it's basically he's a furry and a Trekkie. I mean, that's not much. That's pretty basic bitch level character development. But you know what? For a character this fucking useless, I'll take it.
It's really funny that poor writers don't realize that by making your characters have a funny moment or a cringe-ass moment, you make them infinitely more enjoyable than if they just had a dramatic moment for the sake of a dramatic moment.
Yeah, tooltip for writers, do not be afraid to make your characters cringe. It'll make them far more endearing, trust me.
If Hunter had been cringe the entire fucking show, if he always just showed up, like if Hunter's angst was just largely was a funny version of it, where he just shows up and eats shit on the pavement.
Imagine if Hunter had been Ron Stoppable levels of go white boy go, and then imagine how bad you'd feel when Flapjack died. Like, think about if Ron had lost Rufus at any point in Kim Possible. Like, holy shit, how easy is that?
My god, I keep saying like Hunter is Vanitas, but like Hunter is Ron Stoppable. Shit!
I'll crump with you, Luz. Dances like a white boy for 10 minutes. That's all I need.
That would make the fucking Huntlow dynamic so much better.
Yeah, everyone keeps saying fail husbanding girl boss, but he ain't fail husbanding well.
He's failing at fail husbanding. There's enough in Thanks to Them that kind of makes me a little more melancholic about what we could have had. Like, I mean, for starters, that whole fucking montage was, here's a quick montage of all the episodes you could have had. It was like, oh, but those look so good. I wanted to see Luce and Amity's Earth date. But, like, for what we got, even then, beyond the montage, there was some good stuff. Like, I think Amity as kind of like the B-team leader was pretty well done, because out of all the gang, she's probably the most proactive. I mean, apart from Camila, who's just trying to be a good mom to everyone. Yeah, Amity is the one who says they need to get out there and maybe find some clues on how to make a portal. She's the one who, like, organizes their little trip and goes around asking questions, which ultimately leads them to Masha, who is great. Always love the NB rep that's better than Double Trouble. Like, Amity doesn't really have, like, much development in this episode, but she doesn't really need one. She's finished, so her just getting the ball rolling, despite being an already completed character, is a plus.
She tries to feed a Dewey Decimal System a piece of candy and then falls over, and that's all she needs to do.
Yeah. I think that I think that was always the case, is that Amity didn't really have much to her as a character. She was like the bully, and then the love interest, and then like just she's the goth witch everyone makes as their first female OC, okay? Like, again, Dana has clearly had this character for a long time. Despite the fact that the fandom really wanted Amity to be the real main character, I think Amity has always just been fine where she is as a secondary supporting character to Luce.
I was about to make a joke there, but like the joke led to the point where season 3 Amity has her best look because with her hair, she looks most like Lana. But then I realized, actually, yeah, that Amity very much is just the Lana to Luce's Outlander, and that's all she needs to be.
It's a shame that Gus and Willow still do the least out of anybody in this episode.
Gus and Willow are Luce's best friends, according to them and to Luce. They do not say an actual word to Luce this entire episode.
Yeah, I think it's clear that Dana does not care about Gus and Willow. She doesn't. I mean, she cares, like, I'm not sure whether or not to say she cares about Luce, because of what happens with Luce a lot in this season. But it's always been made clear that in Dana's mind, Gus and Willow have always taken a backseat to Amity and Hunter. And the thing is, given how much of, like, a lot of people say that season 1 had a lot of creative mandates from Disney, I am curious, were Gus and Willow a mandate from Disney?
If so, Disney continues to make the right calls and corporate mandates on television.
They're important, like, remember, like, Hexside being important in season 1, and as well as the first season being more lighthearted, was a mandate from Disney, and that's where Gus and Willow are a lot more important. Season 2 comes around, the show gets darker, and Gus and Willow immediately get completely and utterly sidelined. That's my conspiracy theory. Gus and Willow were a corporate mandate from Disney, and the moment the executives took a more hands-off approach in season 2, Dana just immediately threw them in a bin.
I honestly don't know who has it worse between Willow or Gus, because, and I kind of feel bad like trying to like compare the two, because Willow just got tacked on to the fandom did not give a shit about Willow until there was a white boy to tack her onto. And Gus was just left out to dry so fucking hard. Everyone else in the kid group had like hair-based character development except for him. He did not get a new hairdo until the epilogue.
I would say from early concept art, we can see that Willow was an idea before Gus was, and I feel like you can feel that in how Willow is not only able to be stapled onto Hunter, or rather, Hunter stapled onto her, but also how they deliberately attempt to bring her closer to the friend group by having her and Amity have a past, whereas Gus is the only character who doesn't really have any connection to any other characters. He's got a passing interest in Star Trek with Hunter, but that's a throwaway line or two, and past that, he never interacts with Amity. He barely gets to interact with Willow despite them being best friends since childhood, and he doesn't even really get to interact with Luz that often. I'm gonna be real, I kind of forgot that he was raised by a single father until they brought it up in Thanks to Them, because while we've brought up that Willow loves her dads, we saw Gus's dad briefly once with them both not being on screen at the same time. So, like, if there's anyone who really gets the shaft in this show, I would say it's Gus.
You have a point there, but at the same time, Gus does get some really good episodes at times.
Oh, he super does, and I love those episodes.
Especially Through the Looking Glass Ruins. Like, Willow did not get a Through the Looking Glass Ruins.
And that's very true. I will say that I feel like Dana showed her own hand, because while Through the Looking Glass Ruins is a fantastic episode for Gus, I don't think Dana thought that it was a fantastic episode for Gus, which is why she stapled the Lumity subplot to it. Because, I mean, think about it, with Gus's two really good potential episodes, we've got Through the Looking Glass Ruins, which is the episode that was defined by everyone paying attention to Lumity and no one paying attention to Gus being awesome. And then we have Labyrinth Runners, which was just secretly another Hunter angst episode.
Through the Looking Glass Ruins was written by both Molly and Dana, and I get the feeling Dana wrote the Lumity plot.
I would imagine so, yeah.
I would have thought Molly wrote the Lumity plot, since Molly tends to be on the more romantic episodes.
That is true, but almost every Lumity episode, as well as almost every Hunter episode, are written by Dana.
Oh, okay. You know what? Fair enough. Oh my god. There's so little to talk about, and thanks to them, we're talking about other episodes.
It's funny that Dana really plays up the I'm edgy, I'm different, I like the macabre and the gross. I'm not really here for your musicals or your romance or your happy endings. And like, considering all of the things she actually winds up writing for this show, it's really obvious that she's a lot of talk.
Camila in this episode and all the episodes after this, oh my god, she is amazing.
Yeah, she's great.
The fact that over 6 months she is just committed to these children and is just loves her daughter so much and wants to like pull her out of the depression she's kind of letting herself sink into is great. And even when they didn't really like need Camila to like come to an understanding about how trying to send Luz to that camp was the best idea, like they gave reasoning behind that and just the principal was doing a racism. But how the fandom has chosen to interpret and extrapolate all this information is completely predictable. I was watching I Am Zamber's reaction to the finale, and there's a scene with Camila that she pauses where she talks about how good a mom Camila is and how she really stepped up, and she was just using a bunch of language that really irked me because it suggested that Camila was going through some kind of redemption, and then it made me remember, oh yeah, for the vast majority of the show's existence, the fandom interpreted Camila as an abusive mother for racist reasons. And even we get so far as the finale, that idea hasn't gone away, despite, well, what we see in these 3 episodes.
The fandom did eventually warm up to the idea of Camila as a good mother, ... once there were 2 white characters they could voice onto her.
Oh yeah, once Hunter could be adopted by Camila, suddenly Camila was the best mom.
And V.
V's complexion, I mean, I'm not saying it isn't white, but it doesn't seem quite as pasty as Hunter or Amity.
V being non-human means the fandom will treat her with the same level of artificial inflation as a white character.
Fair enough. Also, Bellos is Venom now, I guess.
Venom!
Oh, yeah.
Someone get Eminem on the line.
Bellos is if Eddie the Head from all the Iron Maiden album covers fucked Venom.
And had the voice of that British guy in Five Nights at Freddy's. Like that was consistent and not as cool as they thought it was.
I do appreciate how throughout the course of this season, Bellos is just becoming increasingly more pathetic until he's literally just shit on the pavement.
Yeah. Like, the threat of Bellos basically comes from once he possesses the Boiling Isles, and then after that it's just nothing.
Big kaiju fight, and then tries to sad boy his way out of it.
So, one major problem, that it starts in thanks to them, but it's largely is that the main character of the fucking show is decidedly absent from anything happening.
I always describe this particular phenomenon as called waiting for Goku. That's the show where this shit really happens, where Goku is just fucked off somewhere, and the rest of the heroes are trying to deal with this big threat, and they're just scrambling and dying and sacrificing so much just to keep them at bay, just for Goku to come in and save the day, except he's also doing a Goku, so he's gonna let the villain make things worse before it gets better. While not entirely the same, it does really kind of feel like the show is just pulling a waiting for Goku with Luz. Only instead of having her recovering from injuries or training, she's just moping.
The problem is, like, Luz's depression and angst could be an interesting element to the story if they were proactive about it. But all it really amounts to is an excuse for Luz to not say anything, not talk to anyone, and kind of spin her wheels until the 3rd act of any story.
Oh, but Lily, that makes self-destructive Tumblr people feel seen.
Oh crap! I completely forgot about the teens on Tumblr who are treating their friends like shit.
If Luz was starting to devote every waking moment to, like, making a new portal door, neglecting school, her friends, her own health, in her efforts to, like, get her friends back home, that'd have been interesting.
Oh yeah, health of information this shit.
Absolutely health of information this shit.
Yeah, like, it's just gotta be proactive. Like, here's ultimately the question, and I find that this question really shuts people up who try to defend Luz's actions, is what Luz is doing is stalling. She's stalling because Dana doesn't want to use the 1st and 2nd act for anything. Why the fuck don't we have a scene where she breaks down in tears in her girlfriend's arms? If you're gonna have her depressed and angsty, why the fuck aren't we doing that?
Because that would require them to give Luz a brief moment of respite and comfort before the final 7 minutes of the series, and someone might feel satisfied.
I mean, that scene with her and Camila late at night was cute. Didn't really amount to much because Luce was still on her bullshit afterwards, but it was cute.
The reason Luce doesn't have one of those moments where she like breaks down and cries while being held by either her mother, her girlfriend, her best friends, fucking Pinocchio, is because the moment Luce breaks down crying is the moment everyone else figures out something is wrong, and then you can't stall anymore because there's no answer to the question, why aren't they pressing the issue? And it's not the third act, so they don't want to.
It also doesn't allow any other characters to express their own feelings about what's going on. One of the sad bits about having Luz in a consistent state of pity party is that because of that, every other character has to be as supportive as possible and as hopeful as possible to account for her feelings. And it's a real shame because I really would have liked to hear everybody else being upset. We have that entire subplot in For the Future with Willow that amounts to very little, but like, everyone deserves to be a little mad at the situation without it being on Luz. Willow and Gus and Amity and even Wooden Boy over here all deserve to scream in frustration at like being cut off from their homes and their families and their lives and being on the run from a very scary being. It's crazy that no one else gets to emote because we've decided that Luz being sad is the only thing that's allowed to happen. So no one else can be sad in that same moment because it'll just make Luz feel worse. Everyone loses something, but outside of a token line from each other character, Luz is the only one who ever gets to express the, like, extent of loss that's going on, which would have been a really great thing to do for, like, an entire 45-minute segment instead of whatever the fuck we did in For the Future, but, you know.
Oh, no, that's not true. Willow got one eventually.
Eventually, for, like, 2 minutes, thanks to coin-operated boy.
Should we jump to For the Future then?
God, is there anything else in thanks to them? There's not a lot to talk about outside of like the main issues because like these episodes are just so padded.
First overly hyped frame drop fight scene happens. One of like 19 in these 3 episodes.
Oh man, I love it when the rendering engine fails and we go down to like 6 frames per second.
Wow, this Persona cutscene looks like shit.
Oh man, Digimon fight scenes look a lot worse than I remember.
I'm so glad I didn't watch Little Witch Academia.
I don't remember the Anduin boss fight in Eternity's End being this choppy.
Oh, I've done the Anduin boss fight. It is that choppy.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Borderlands.
Why is it at every fight scene? It's like they did that one thing that one episode of Steven Universe did. Like they brought in, it looks like they brought in people from Trigger to basically say, please make the worst fight scene we have ever seen.
Which, when they should have gotten the people from Flying Bark. I'm telling you, have you seen the fucking, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur fights?
Owl House fight scenes animated by Flying Bark. Oh, that would have been so beautiful!
That would have required them to, like, go to people who are really good at animating smoothly and not using cheap anime tricks to pretend like you look smoothly.
I saw the fucking Rise of the TMNT movie. That shit was primo.
God, but no, like, I look, I'll be honest, we kind of make jokes about it, but I'm pretty sure it was a deliberate stylistic choice. They wanted it to look like anime, which is why it looks like shit.
Yeah, of course they did. We all watched the last episode of this. There's so much anime in it, I'm surprised it didn't choke on itself and go full clip show.
There's so much anime in it, I'm surprised they didn't get arrested for sweatshop work.
Yeah, or child porn.
There's so much anime in it, I'm surprised we didn't get a loose panty shot.
I'm surprised we didn't get a hunter panty shot.
You okay?
Made me choke on a fry.
I'm sorry. Don't worry, I'm sure you're gonna say something later that's gonna make me wheeze and we'll be even Steven.
Alright. For the Future.
I have to say something real quick, and it's very stupid and petty, but I knew it ever since Wing It Like Witches that Basha wanted to dress up and travel with Amity. I fucking knew it, but I didn't say anything until the episode aired, so no one's gonna believe me.
Man, somehow, despite managing to circumvent the exact trope we were all worried about, Dana still snuck in some enemies to lovers. It's just one-sided.
It's Malachite, but Dana at least had the common sense not to mix up who the toxic one was.
Oh, well, I've got to do it to you.
I'm not sure what it is, but I understand. Yes, you do.
God, why is it they save so many fucking stills of this shit? It was a fake out, but I'm pretty sure this made all the Owl House fans who only like the emo white characters fucking cream themselves.
Oh,
Yeah.
That was, Hey, Sniper CT, I didn't know you fucking storyboarded this episode.
Christy Golden, what are you doing here?
Hey!
Christy Golden would never write a gay ship.
If it ended with one of them dying. Hey, it's not a gay ship. Remember, it's fake out.
Okay, fine. Christy Golden would never write a romantic arc with a black man.
Ha! Okay, fair.
Yeah, I don't know why, out of all the things and for the future, I was especially transfixed on, that little nugget, but...
Well, there ain't much else to be transfixed on.
I mean, look, For the Future's biggest problem, fundamentally, is like the same problem a lot of the episodes have, is that 30 minutes is ultimately just wasted while the characters refuse to talk to each other about anything.
They aren't even in the same place.
It's the same thing we talked about before. First act and second act, Dana just doesn't want to do anything with them. This is the rule for season 3. The third act is the only place where anything is allowed to happen. So the first and second act are just standing around, tapping your foot, waiting.
I've actually seen people on Twitter, like, start to catch wise to, like, the bullshit surrounding Luce, because, in fucking, thanks to them, Amity made Luce promise, like, no more secrets, no more hiding stuff. And then we get that preview of Luce telling her mom she's going to stay in the human realm. And I saw someone on Twitter retweet that. I was like, she just told you not to lie or hide. You promised her 10 minutes ago.
It has been 2 minutes.
Yeah, this has fundamentally been my criticism. A lot of people claim, oh, it's realistic. It doesn't matter if it's realistic. It's dragging shit out. We could have the conversation now, but we're not having the conversation now, and that's a problem.
Brother, magic witches about to fight an evil colonizer who's been staying alive due to blood magic. I feel like realism is not what we're going for here. Me when the Green family does not go through the proper agricultural paperwork to stay in town while owning a patch of land. I'm so upset that this show isn't realistic.
God, like, realism can make a story worse, and realism, especially in Owl House, like the only realistic thing about the Owl House is that the guy running the tyrannical dictatorship, who generally views people living freely on their own as the Savage Ages, was a white guy.
Holy shit, it's a white guy.
Love Scott the Woz.
Speaking of Bellows, one thing I will say that was satisfying was watching him curse out the ghosts of his sins who probably aren't even there, saying, it was your fault, you drove me to this, while literally falling apart. I was like, yes, you pathetic sack of shit, crumble and die.
Bro, I am legit just standing here.
I do look, I'll be honest, I think all the stuff with Caleb and Evelyn was completely unnecessary. Absolutely fucking unnecessary. And the only payoff to it is the fact that Luce just does the same thing to him in the next episode.
It's a good time. I really wish we had more time.
It is funny how literally everything Bellows does in For the Future is just eat shit on the pavement.
It's so fun to see Bellows get hurt. Sure wish that we had had like an entire episode about that. Well, back to the grind.
Oh, also Rain gets Norded.
Oh yeah, Rain got Norded.
Poor Rain. They didn't deserve this. You know, Dana, between how you treat Luce and how you treat Rain, I think you're trying to tell us something.
Yeah, didn't deserve what? What happened to her? What happened to them with Bellows, or being in this episode?
I have notes here, but I'm still fucking scrambling to talk about. Before I forget, Lilith's new look looks like shit.
Yeah, really.
The fucking orange, just the orange almost buzz cut she has.
Yeah, cannot draw short curly hair despite having a short-haired protagonist with curly hair the entire series.
I mean, look, the main character might have curly hair, but she does spend most of the show with just the bog standard animation pixie cut.
And now we know why.
And considering how her hair's drawn in like season 3 onward, it's clear that Dana and crew listened to those criticisms. I just wish we got them sooner.
The thing is, like, it's really hard to talk about any of these episodes because, like, so little happens. But it's like, we get to the third act, and it's where everything is allowed to happen. So, Luce has a very hasty conversation with her mother. Her palisman hatches. They fight Kikimora. Side note, why the fuck is Kikimora even here?
Who let you back in the house?
Why were you necessary? We're in the fucking penultimate episode. Did we really need another villain? Why are you here, Kikimora?
Literally, the only reason Kiki even had to be here was so Camila could hit her with a bat. Kiki, Miki, bruja toss. That was literally the only payoff I could justify.
And to give Basha an excuse for a redemption. It is amazing just how fucking, you can skip For the Future. You could go from thanks to them to watching and dreaming and just assume that the portal dropped them on the Titan skull.
You can pick up everything that happened of any significance via context clues in the first 30 seconds of watching and dreaming, so, you know. And what really sucks is, okay, so you know what, Dana? Fine. I'm willing, you made a good show for like half of a show, so I'm gonna walk with you to your pier. You've got this new villain. He's the Collector, he's like a 10-year-old on Minecraft creative mode, and he doesn't understand the concept of death. Okay, what do you want to do with him? You've got an entire episode to sell me on this character and make me care enough so when he has to do something in the third one, I'm going to be upset. Hey, where are you going? Hey, you have a character right here that you've just introduced that I've got to be endeared to. Why are you leaving him? Why am I not seeing anything with him? Come back here. Stop talking to Basha.
With the Collector comes an expansion to the Owl House cosmology, because apparently there are artificers who just catalog species and races across the universe, because if there was more shit from WoW that the Owl House definitely needed, it was the Pantheon, I guess.
Pardon me while I go vomit, because I just got to be exposed to Owl House lore.
It is funny when a fantasy world starts to get, like, really into its own cosmology, and like, only like 2% of the fucking audience actually gives a shit.
But guys, they're super strong and live in the sky. And
I've seen people fucking complain on Twitter about how the world building in the Owl House is inconsistent. It's like, oh, so they ride on bugs and giant demon feet, but they still have motorcycles? What the heck? So inconsistent.
Yeah, their bruise pattern about to be inconsistent. Let me at him. Ooh, ah!
Almost spat my drink out.
This is kind of the fundamental theme of the season, is just wasted time. We've got this whole thing with Belos and the Collector and the main characters. Oh, but you know, we could really focus on fucking Basha and Kikimora.
We should have got String Bean last season, goddammit.
Yeah, we should have gotten String Bean, and thanks to them.
Yeah, really, why set up that Camila is a Trekkie nerd? And then just tell us that Luz didn't there's an inconsistency for you. Luz has lived in this house since she was like 8 years old and had no idea that her mom was into Star Trek. She kept all of her shit in the basement. How is this something that she's finding out right now?
Camila shipped Janeway in 7 of 9. Fucking fight me.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. If Camilla really wanted to hide the fact that she was a secret nerd, she could have just said that all that Star Trek stuff was her father's.
Still, what a weird thing to hide. Like, they don't give me an adequate reason to think there's a reason why she would hide this from her daughter.
Especially since episode 1, Camila, like, openly supports Luz's creativity.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's easy to find a reason why, and people will act like that means it's good writing. But that's the case. It sort of highlights the fact that Dana just doesn't care. She doesn't care enough to really think about the characters all that much, or at least not the characters who matter. Again, we've got 2 villains and 6 main characters that all need time, and what are we focusing on? Fucking Kikimora!
Another episode where Willow and Gus are done dirty in their own unique ways. Gus especially, like, that bit where Gus goes to Hunter's like, hey, I knew you were a Grimwalker. For, like, several days, I was like, wait, when did he realize he was a Grimwalker? And then I remembered, oh yeah, in fucking King's Tide, Gus actually read Belos's mind. He saw all his dirty laundry. And all that amounted to was that throwaway lines like, hey, I know you're a Grimwalker. Nothing else was done with it. We could have, fucking Gus got a front row seat to every atrocity Bellows committed. And all it amounts to is just a throwaway line when he's talking to Hunter about his angst. Jesus Christ, Dana, do something with him.
I wonder if there was another character that Bellows interacted with in the main cast that might have done with a pep talk from somebody who had seen the action take place. I wonder.
Yeah, that means like fucking Gus knew the whole time as well about like Luce.
Oh my god, that's right.
Yeah, and we never get a scene about it.
Again, Dana just doesn't care.
But she cares about Kikimora. She stuck into the high school to take it over.
Luce is just as pissed about this as we are, which should make it worth it, but it doesn't.
There's just so much that, like, and you know, people will defend it with, oh, well, it got canceled. No, the problem isn't that it got canceled. If we had gotten 20 more adventures, we'd still be here at the end of a full season 3 doing this exact same shit. Because if the show hadn't been canceled, season 2B wouldn't have been the way it was. It would have probably been more episodic stuff. But then by the time we reached the end of season 3, we'd have been right back here.
I would have just wasted more of my time.
I mean, look, Dana was sidelining the non-white characters for a while, like, before she even found out the show was getting canceled.
Yeah, I don't buy this whole it got canceled, because if the show was canceled, why do we spend all 3 episodes doing fuck all for, like, most of the runtime? Sure, it's a lot of nothing for having, 2 hours worth of content?
It's like, oh, well, they didn't have enough time. Really? Because you could skip most of season 3 and not miss jack shit. That doesn't tell me not enough time. That tells me too much time. It's just, she just didn't care. She cared more about all this other ancillary bullshit.
Got that one ask on Tumblr. It's like, don't you think it's kind of like pointless to show how powerful String Bean was when it just didn't amount to anything? I was like, oh yeah, like maybe if String Bean was in season 2, that if we got String Bean by season 2, that wouldn't have been a problem, but Dana's just gonna do a Dana.
It was a big drama moment, that's all it is.
We're gonna get to it when we get to the last episode here, but like, holy shit, for as much waffling as they do in these 2 episodes, where nothing of substance happens and we piddle around with characters that we introduced far too late, the 3rd episode sure does have a lot of characters who just show up that I'm supposed to care about and have no connection to. Like, really, guys? We have 2 episodes to set everything up to make an emotionally satisfying finale. And like, by the time we get to the finale, I'm going, who's that? Who's he? Who's she? Who's they? Why are we here? When did that happen?
The reason String Bean doesn't amount to anything is because once String Bean had her big reveal in For the Future, she wasn't important anymore. Like, that was it. It was all stalled for the big reveal and the big moment where Luce gets to blast something with dark magic. And then that's it. It's over.
Not even the bad guy. Just
not even the bad guy. Just a fucking just some dirt. She blasts some dirt with dark magic, and it's just over. And like that's the kicker, is because String Bean was made specifically for the reveal. And this is kind of the thing about storytelling by shock value. Once the shocking moment of finally knowing what Luce's talisman is, the talisman's no longer important.
It's a snake shifter. It can turn to any kind of animal. Oh cool. What's that going to amount to? What do you mean amount to?
The fandom attitude surrounding Luce's talisman was always, what is it going to be? 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 It's not, what kind of personality is it going to have? What's going to be Luce's relationship to her, to her talisman, you know? Is Luce going to have the same protective attitude towards String Bean that Ida has toward Albert? It's just, once the talisman is seen, it no longer matters. And that's why I'm watching and dreaming. Luce's talisman is irrelevant.
Well, now Morning Mark can do all the hard work for her.
I was literally just about to say that. Morning Mark did more with Luce and String Bean than Dana did. He had that fucking stroke of brilliance where he made String Bean disguise himself as Luce's headgear.
I mean, Morning Mark handled Luce's angst in 6 panels better than the show did in 6 episodes. Okay. I think that's about it. Watching and dreaming.
I'm dreaming about watching something else.
I'm dreaming of a better episode.
The best I can say for this episode is that it is either on par with the finale of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, or feels like it was made by fans for fans, and whichever one pisses you off more is the one I'm going with.
Like, the worst I can say about watching and dreaming is that it's fine, which, considering that it's a series finale, it's just, in and of itself is unfortunate, but, like, it is better than For the Future. I can give it that.
I mean, people were surprised when I did the top 5 of the Owl House. I just kind of assumed watching and dreaming wouldn't be notable enough to end up on either the best, worst, or blandest list. And it is amazing. It is interesting just how predictive I was in there. Like, it's fine. Does it get on the best list? No. Does it get on the worst list? No. Does it get on the blandest list? No. And you could argue that an episode that isn't notable enough to end up on the blandest list makes it the blandest of them all, honestly.
When is Apollo gonna stop hitting you with that fucking dodgeball?
I got closer to crying thinking about the iCarly series finale today. Not even watching it, just briefly thinking about it.
God damn it.
I don't even like iCarly that much.
We almost got a wheeze. I think it's interesting. It's just like, again, it has the same problem as the other two in that 25 minutes is just spent doing fucking nothing.
The nightmare segment was very unnecessary.
That's just 7 minutes of loose torture. Just 7 minutes of fucking loose torture. And hey, what snaps loose out of it? Does somebody else get her out of it? Do the people she loved gets her out of it? No, Nightmare Amity gets a fucking Azura fact wrong, and it's like, wait a minute, you're not my goth nerd girlfriend.
So nothing! The entire time I'm there thinking, man, watching that gay couple on the new Total Drama season with Sketchy was really cool. I'm watching the finale of a show I've been invested in for 3 years and counting. I should not be doing this.
I think it's like, once Bellows possesses the Boiling Isles is where the episode starts, because if we're being honest, the Collector is superfluous. The Collector doesn't matter.
I'm honestly kind of shocked that he didn't think to do that first, because he has been in a room with that beating heart for fuck knows how long. Did the Collector really need to tell him that it was still alive and beating when he could see it? Oh my god. Clearly. Like, that should have been the first thing Bellows did when he returned to the Boiling Isles. Go straight for that fucking heart, because he would have known by now that it still works.
It is kind of made clear that Bellows just overwhelmingly took a lot longer to learn anything about the Boiling Isles as Luce did.
You know what? Fair enough. I'll give you that. Gave us a chance for Rain to be a total badass, even if it is slightly more torture porn.
Rain now has the permanent Banshee tears.
And a mullet.
The Digimon fight scenes get even worse at this point. I actually just checked and I found out that the previous 2 seasons were all animated by Rough Draft Studios. You know, the same animation studio that does fucking everything.
Yes.
But now it's done by Sugar Cube. Another Korean studio, but...
I'm unfamiliar with Sugar Cube.
Yeah. Well, they changed the the animation studio, which explains why the animation style changed as well.
This episode looks awful.
It does. I mean, like, just putting aside the fact that the sheer constant style switching between the show's regular style and the fucking anime action scenes feels like going from a pre-rendered cinematic to fucking PS2 gameplay.
Yep. It's the deference is definitely jarring.
Fuck, I have the fucking perfect comparison. The Kingdom Hearts games up until Kingdom Hearts 3 always had this thing where they have high quality character models for certain cutscenes. Usually when you have a close-up on a character's face. And for the sake of, like, saving on resources and time and not having to crunch, you will see them switch between that, where characters perfectly lip sync, and this kind of, like, flat gameplay model where their lips just, like, flap up and down. And that's what going from dialogue to action is like here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Handsome Jack to pop out with his diamond horse and tell me that I should kill myself for $20.
It is such a downgrade every fucking time it happens.
Out here looking like fucking Klimpaloon, the pair of magical underwear who lives in the mountains. And I'm gonna be real here. I can totally understand why people would like the Luz Titan design. I feel like I can talk about this because it's something to do with the art direction and animation. This color palette is fucking awful, though. We set up from the beginning that, like, all of the different magic tracks are all these different colors, all of the different glyphs are all these different colors, there's these fun, bright particle effects, we've got, like, every reason in the world to make this thing go all out and look cool as hell. And, like, when this is done in show, like, behind the green background that we have and the gray overlay, the purple and dark grays and blacks just all merge into a mush verbally, or, visually.
It is the very basic bitch design philosophy of just make it black. And maybe throw in some purple. Like, black, red, and purple are the edgy colors. But, I mean, the bone fragments, the fucking shin bones, the half undead look Luz has going here, I vibe with it.
Oh yeah, no, this in concept is not bad, but considering that they wanted to go so hard on being anime fanbait bullshit, I don't like that this is not more to match up with the fact that everything else got to be more.
I think, like, I see what you're talking about with, like, the mesh thing. I think they added the multicolored glyphs that show up around Luz's body to make it stand out more against the background. And but honestly, beyond that, the only note I can think of beyond that would make me completely satisfied with this design is if, like, the inside of the cloak was the same purple as the hat. That would make it stand out more. Beyond that, I generally don't have many complaints with it.
I mean, why the fuck wasn't it just colored, like, white and purple like her Azura outfit?
Why couldn't it have a bunch of glyphs all over it of different colors, all glowing at different times while she was using magic?
I think it was to convey that she was indeed, like, she had Titan in her. So, like, if it had to look at least a little bit like King or King's dad.
It is weird that simultaneously it looks like she's wearing a robe, but at the same time that robe has fur.
I just don't like the lack of popping colors when we not just show off that the glyphs have colors, but are reminded of it right before this happens by meeting King's dad and seeing the bright pops of glyph color, especially if we're gonna be across such a dreary, dark background and fighting such a dreary, dark-looking villain. This color palette leaves me cold and dry.
Yeah, they needed way more purple and way less black. I mean, admittedly, I'm not really one to talk. You know, I recently discovered that, like, one of my characters has such a monochrome color palette that if she's lit against anything bright, she just ends up looking like a silhouette.
Honestly, though, I think I can forgive all of that because of that fucking waterfall of curls. This is the hair Luz should have had the entire show.
Oh, the curls are great. I love this hairstyle.
Oh, yes. I believe in curly hair supremacy.
I obviously do as well.
And you know what? The hat's a fucking look, too.
I like the hat!
The hat's a look. The hat with the horns.
Yeah, the hat with the horns, the weird skeleton boots, and the bone fingers are all good. But the colors are actually shit, you know. McKay, you could probably just design a recolored version of this.
Ooh, there's a thought.
It is on the same sort of basic level as just make it dark and then it's automatically better. She's like you know what she is? She's a fucking shiny Pokemon.
Yes, that's what it is. This has the same energy as a shiny Gardevoir.
That's exactly what I was about to say. It's the same energy as a shiny Mega Gardevoir.
I will say that regardless of what we think about it, Amity would have gone feral if she saw this.
Oh yeah, she would have.
She would just grab Luz by the face and just goes, "Tell me this is permanent."
Actually, you know what? Here's the question. Would Amity have gone feral? Because on the one hand, it is exactly the kind of look Amity would love. On the other hand, she does kind of look like King now.
You know what? There's a missing joke for you in a better version of this episode. Amity comes up and is immediately enthralled by Luz's new look, only for King to walk up and go, "Oh my god, we're twinsies now!" and for Amity to completely flip the script.
I will say, though, it was funny that Luz was still so entrenched in self-doubt that she needed a pep talk from God, voiced by Ega Raptor, I guess.
Was that?
I had to have that pointed
That
out
was
to me.
Aaron Hansen? What am I saying? Of fucking course it was. I hate this show.
He was credited.
Okay, I gotta ask, do you have an issue with Aaron Hansen?
No, I think he's a totally fine voice actor. It's just, normally when Aaron Hansen shows up in something, it's like when Griffin McElroy shows up in something. It's like a bit joke character. It's weird to think that Aaron Hansen played a character that is supposed to be, emphasis on supposed to be, a very emotional linchpin to the entire ending.
I mean, if we're being honest, if King's dad was going to be a joke character, he would have been voiced by Alex Hirsch.
Yeah.
Oh god, okay, hold on. I gotta get this out there so I don't forget. King's dad, hey, I'm God. Luz, I'm not so God.
And we're the Titans. King's dad, are you wearing a blindfold? Nah, but with these cataracts, I might as well be. What is that, a bellows? Hits the fucking castle.
I do appreciate how Luz is wondering if she is just as bad as Bellows, and he just goes, "Girl, you on drugs?"
Yeah. Are you drunk? Are you fucking drunk right now?
I'll be honest, I don't like it when the show does that. Look, guys, if you're gonna be sensible and you're not gonna do the same stupid bullshit other cartoons do, fine, just do it and be majestic. But stop going on about how you're not like other girls.
Yeah, really.
This show breaks its hand patting itself on the fucking back. Like, I just think about how everyone else thought it was fucking great, but I always thought it was fucking stupid when Luz goes on that big rant about the rusty smidge. It's like, okay, Dana, we get it. You didn't like Quidditch. Will you shut the fuck up?
None of us like Quidditch. It was written by an idiot. Go away. Let me keep watching the story.
Out of all the things in Quidditch to criticize, the snitch is not the thing you should criticize. It's the big fucking iron cannonballs that fly around at Mach 2 slamming into children's heads.
That can be fucked with by anybody in the stands at any point. With no regulation. King's dad doesn't do fucking anything. Like, holy shit, we spent how much time on Kikimora in the last episode? We spent where with Basha? We get to King's dad, and I'm like, really? I'm supposed to... Was I supposed to care? Because I didn't. I don't know this guy.
He's a literal Deus Ex Machina, which they technically set up in For the Future. And when I saw that, I was like, oh god, Dana, your show's already running on fumes. You don't have time for more of this mystery mongering.
There's no time for anyone to care about King's dad, or like find him endearing. He's fine. He's not egregious, but like, he's not memorable in any way. I don't know why he is the way that he is. I don't know why he's here. I don't particularly care, and I don't like that he's the reason why Luz saves the day over, any character that was actively set up. The same goes for the Collector, by the way. I had been thinking about this through the entirety of the third episode. If we had cut all the bullshit in For the Future, the entire second episode could have been dedicated to, and here's the Collector fucking around with Luz and King and Ida and learning about what it means to be a friend. I don't think it's the best way to spend your time, but if Dana wants to walk to the pier of the Collector's important, give me time with the Collector to feel like he's important, because by the time we get there, I don't know why Luz cares so fucking much. Everyone's emotions flip on a fucking dime in this episode. One second, we're all really mad at the Collector and want to beat him to a pulp. The next minute, we're like, come on, let's take him on a field trip down memory lane. The next, we're still mad at him because he, played a game of chess weird or something. I don't know.
There's a very simple way for this to be fixed. Luz should have just killed Bellows with the draining spell.
Yeah, why not? It's set up. It's well done. It's better than what we got, which was a very boring kaiju battle that was poorly animated.
I mean, like, the draining spell, like, it presumably requires the eclipse to work en masse, like, with, like, a huge population. I imagine using just her talisman, she could probably just use the draining spell on Belos. She did brand him with a sigil, after all.
Yeah, I mean, it's set up. It's a really good, like, reverse on convention. You really get that cool. You can play up even more the, oh my god, is Luz like Belos? No. Okay.
I mean, that's honestly a pretty good subversion of a trope. It'd be like if a character in Harry Potter dealt with, like, a villain by just casting Abraca fuck off and die.
I miss Luz being power of friendship in this gun I found.
In spite of all of that, in spite of everything, that moment toward the end where Belos is, like, trying to make one last bid for his own life, and Luz just fucking stares at him.
That's a good scene. I really like that scene. Belos is pathetic mewling about being cursed and it wasn't his fault, and please come on, we're both people. Please have some compassion. And the dead silence of Luz just kinda watching. Not even particularly mad, just accepting of, yep, fucking Tuesday. This might as well have happened.
Sorry, Ash. I know that he's your Blorbo for your fictional other, but I don't know what the fuck you're talking about when you said this was unsatisfying. Just watching this man fucking scramble and beg for his life, and as he's fucking melting, just spitting venom at Luz, and she's just still looking at him like he's literally the shit beneath her feet. Like, my last words to you were, "Now eat this sucker." I'm not changing that.
Yeah, speaking of which, would have liked that moment a lot more if it wasn't, like, drawn entirely differently, because Dana wants redraws of that scene so fucking bad.
I would have just had Luz, like, kind of, like, walk up with her talisman, giving that speech about being warrior of peace, and it's, like, all framed with, like, big dramatic music as she, like, approaches him, and then the music cuts, and she just throws the talisman over her shoulder like a bazooka, and it's like, "Now eat this, sucker!"
Yeah, actual...
String Bean can shapeshift. He can look like a bazooka.
He could literally be a bazooka!
Look exactly like the first shot from the first episode. But no, we gotta have this, like, stained glass window framed looking ass piece, so that way people on Tumblr were going, "Here's my version of it." As you can see, Luz is white here.
I mean, I'm all for Suplex City, bitch, but there were better ways to do this.
Go for comedy! Just go for comedy! It's a fucking comedy show!
We stopped going for comedy a long time ago.
Why are you making Luz yell Kamehameha?
I mean, Ida, Rain, and King literally just murdering him with stomps was funny. That was extremely satisfying.
Ew, I got some on my shoe.
And it's funny, like, a lot of people, like, I know, Ash is not the only one who apparently thought that was, like, unsatisfying. A lot of people wanted, like, all those fucking red herrings, because, like, remember, Caleb and Evelyn ultimately didn't amount to anything, and they kind of don't matter. But the fandom, because they're white, or at least they think Evelyn is white, the fandom thinks that they matter a lot. And so, like, they want, like, I got this ask here. It's like,
I saw that one.
I feel like it should have been more like Luz tells Belos that he lost everything because of his inability to change, and now he turned into a monster that nobody will remember after he dies or something, and Belos dies while seeing visions of Caleb and Evelyn and everyone he's ever killed that don't even look at him, so he dies scared with the realization that Luz is right. But, like, that's not even Belos' characterization. Belos never gave a shit about his brother.
Yeah, why would Belos care? Once again, this is the macrocosm of the Hunter problem. You're projecting onto a character that doesn't exist.
Here's what I always found fascinating about Belos, and it's rather simple because it refocuses things back onto the main character, is that at the end of the day, Belos is a white Christian man from 1600s America. Belos keeps trying to appeal to Luz by saying, "We're both humans against these witches," but if this were the human realm, Belos would have been targeting Luz without a second's hesitation. And Luz knows this, like, she just gives him this fucking look. Like when he talks about, "I don't want to see another human ruined by this place," and she just gives him this fucking look like, "Bitch, come on, do you think I was born yesterday?" Like, you can extrapolate a lot about Belos and his motivations just by knowing he's a white British Christian guy from 400 years ago. That's kind of the tragedy of the Alice. They start with something actually very biting and edgy. like, they don't pull their punches. Like, Belos is just a white supremacist. That's all he fucking is.
But, like, that would mean that the white guy was the bad guy.
But then they chicken out and they walk most of it back and try to replace it with, like, this safe, sanitized fandom mysteries about, like, secret families and hidden identities and conspiracy mongering. And, like, you can't really pack hidden mysteries in it. It's like a pretentious weeby jackass if your bad guy's just a racist white guy, because they're pretty straightforward. Like, racist white guys are pretty straightforward. They're just scum, and you should kill them.
Honestly, Luce should have just pulled a Proud Family and just give up the ghost. And it's like, you think I'm going to believe this whole humans stand together shit when I know you're from the 1600s?
Yeah, I wonder why Belos would have a problem with her. She's a human after all. Person of color, woman, gay, bi, but, you know, he don't care. You don't know what a bi is. More like bi.
Luce is everything Belos hates. I mean, like, let's be fucking honest here. I think the fact that Belos ultimately wanted to genocide a society that is fully integrated and knows neither colorism, sexism, homophobia, or transphobia is not something that should be ignored here. Like, once she acquires glyph magic, Luce is everything Belos hates. I think Luce just standing there watching him burn away in the boiling rain with no sympathy for him, silently gloating about the fact that she has completely and utterly destroyed his 400 years of work to undo the Boiling Isles, and just watches him die like a little sniveling rat, is really powerful and really poignant, and it is a fucking amazing moment in an otherwise boring-ass episode.
Oh, yes. Even though I won't go back to watch a lot of The Owl House, I'll still go back to watch Season 1, my favorite episodes of Season 2, and that fucking scene many more times in the future. And I'm gonna take that scene someday, and I'm gonna put Natasha Bedingfield's Unwritten over it. And and you're gonna hear Feel the Rain on Your Skin the moment he starts being pelted with the acid rain.
He's fine, but he's no Chip Whistler getting run out of town.
Why does that make me laugh? I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's okay.
With the people who basically claiming that it's, like, that anon was like, oh, the defeat of a fascist has to be worth it. But I mean, making Belos beg for the mercy of a woman who represents literally everything he fucking hates and wants to destroy, and having her look down at him like he is literally mud on her shoe is worth it. That is the most worth it end for Belos imaginable. I mean, I think, like, hearing this shit from the fandom kind of represents my problem with the genre, because even when we get a really good moment like this, there's these people saying it should have been different, presenting all the usual fandom ideas that all just follow the same templates, and they're just written by TV tropes, and suck, and position white background characters as more important, and suck, and exist for theory YouTube, and suck, and mimic your favorite anime, and suck, and suck, and suck so fucking hard. And so much of this show sucks because the fandom wanted it to suck. And right up until the very last moment, they still wanted it so badly to just fucking suck. And way too many of those people worked on the fucking thing. They just couldn't help themselves. So, like, in all of these fucking shows, they can't help themselves. They always start out with a good idea, and then immediately it's like, oh hey, what if it was like my favorite anime? And then immediately everything just crashes and burns, because your favorite anime fucking sucked. And then we get this really good moment, this moment that is so fucking good that it almost redeems the whole episode, and then some jackass comes bothering me like, oh, well, it would have been better if it sucked.
Hell is fandom culture.
So I don't bother with these fucking shows anymore. Like, even if they start out good, it's always the same case. Adventure fantasy as a genre needs to fucking die. Some people are saying this is the death of story-based cartoons. Good! I hope they fucking die. They are terrible.
With The Owl House gone, we are officially without any major adventure fantasy story-driven cartoon that everyone is talking about. And I can finally die at peace.
Moon Girl might become one. That's still.
I was just about to say, that's presuming you choose not to believe what one of the producers of Moon Girl is saying.
Assuming that Moon Girl manages to get one of those brace containment fandoms. Let's all not kid ourselves here. She still is a black superhero in the technical Marvel universe, which means that she's got more to combat somehow. So, You know, well, we'll see.
Well, I mean, yeah, sure, but, like, so was Luce.
That's true, but Luz had a bunch of white people around her.
Yeah, that is true. I imagine the adventure fantasy fan base is probably not really gonna, like, even if it goes serialized, probably wouldn't latch onto Moon Girl, because Moon Girl is, like, very passively political.
Passively political and not a lot of white people.
Yeah, they had a whole episode about gentrification.
Can't really make a roundtable theory video about that.
The only white people who show up, well, I mean, there is the science lady. The only white people who show up in the show are the villains who always die. Except for Beyonder. He's neither white nor dies.
Well, you know, considering the kind of, people that reside in fandoms like Owl House are also the kind of people who, saw an out-of-context clip of the Proud Family and decided to say that it was racist as a series now. I can't imagine that they are going to be clamoring or chomping at the bit to sit down with Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, which is good for Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. They deserve better fans than that.
Like, with the Owl House ending, people talk about the death of story-based cartoons. No irony, no hyperbole. I sincerely hope it is true. The last 10 years of this has been the very fucking bottom of the goddamn barrel for Western animation. It has been truly awful. It is just a crapload of weebs trying to imitate their favorite show from their childhood that they only half remember, and for whom the only appeal for that show was, oh man, it's not like stuff for kids, your mom's gonna hate it.
This ain't no Mickey Mouse. This ain't no Looney Tunes. This is anime. And it's taking America by storm. Now, you can catch the anime fever or turbocharge your current anime video collection with the best of Japanese anime 2. But be warned, the best of Japanese anime 2 ain't no kid stuff. It's animation grown up and gone wild. Call this toll-free number now.
Story-based animation is dying, and with your help, we can kill it just a little faster.
God, I hope that for the next 10 years we get nothing but the Ghost of Molly McGee. Like, here's the thing about these shows, and I think it's part of why they're dying and why they're getting canceled, is because their ratings are always in the fucking toilet.
Yeah, you know what one Disney show has managed to break the 4th season barrier and maintain a movie and shows no signs of stopping? Fucking Big City Greens. You know how many people are in the Big City Greens fandom? 7. And 6 of them are me.
I mean, I think this is hilarious, and I think it speaks to just how much the adventure fantasy genre has to be artificially inflated, is that the Roundtable has a video, and it's even got that smug Steven thumbnail about how Steven Universe is the most watched cartoon on HBO Max. Bear in mind, of course, let us also mention, this is after HBO Max threw every fucking cartoon they owned out the fucking window.
Oh, they thought that was a serve! They thought it was an own!
Like, okay, how many shows died before it got that fucking spot?
Do you know how quick it's gonna die? We have a Clone High reboot and the new Total Drama season dropping this summer. That shit's getting buried! Who thinks that HBO Max streams are a win? Ow! I think that's the meanest thing I could say about Steven Universe. I feel bested. I'm hurt.
Oh my god.
I mean, like, I think it speaks to just how desperate and how much cope there is in the fandom for these shows, of just how much the deck has to be stacked in their favor before they're ever actually worth a piss. Because, I mean, look, here's the kicker. The Owl House got canceled because it was one of the least watched shows Disney had. Disney's profit margins were down during the pandemic. And basically, Disney, like every major corporation fuckhead, decided that instead of cutting executive salaries to cut costs, they were just gonna, like, cut costs somewhere else. Which is why Amphibia got the axe, the Owl House got the axe, a couple of other things got the axe, because when you want to cut costs, you cut the things on the very bottom that are making you the least money. And this is especially true given that, like, Disney makes most of its money from its parks, and you can't put Owl House characters in the parks. They already have enough problems with, like, grown-ass women harassing the Kylo Ren actors. Can you imagine if they put Hunter in there?
Oh, there was a park guest who actually tried to rope the Gaston costume guy, and he told her to leave.
There's a sickness in this world.
I honestly think if they did put the Golden Guard into into Disney, they would probably attach a taser to the end of his staff.
Be Rapunzel trapped in a tower away from everyone.
Here's the staff. It's got a hook on it, it's kind of designed with a hook. Now, this is largely just for the sake of the vibe, but if you ever run into a creepy woman and you gotta kind of like push her away, by all means, your character is part of the witchy Hitler Youth. It will be in character. Go ahead and whack a bitch.
Epilogue was cute. Really wish that the credits weren't running over it.
I also wish we weren't in Digimon mode for the entire time. We just get like this like zoom in on how everyone's doing. Skara and Gus looking fucking perfect.
Oh, yeah, they look great.
Gus finally getting a new fucking hairstyle and Scar being just utterly majestic. Her braids have 2 tones and she is playing the harp for kids. She is living her best life. She should have been with the crew instead of Hunter. We should have gotten Scarlo, but that design was so fucking good.
Oh, yeah, it was so cool. And then Gus shows up, and he's got those little golden things in his braids that I see those on a lot of characters, and I think they are the coolest fucking thing.
Oh, they're looking fantastic.
Our boy's all grown up.
He's 16 and he's teaching courses at Ida's school.
About human stuff.
You prodigy. You absolute prodigy.
And of course, Ida had the fucking hook.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, is Ida gonna get like a mechanical hand or something? Nah, she gets a fucking hook. Of course she has a fucking hook. You just know when Ida's like getting fitted for a prosthetic hand. It's like, for a prosthetic, it's like, okay, what exactly? I want a hook. Well, I mean, no, I want a hook. I want the pirate look. You give me the fucking hook. She is 50 years old and she's so cringe and I love her so much.
I feel bad that we didn't talk that much about Ida for this one, but...
Ida doesn't get to do much in this one.
She did go feral when she thought Luce died, but...
Why is Kiki Mora in the epilogue?
Kiki Mora was in the epilogue?
For like a minute, for like a second.
Yeah, she's like helping rebuild the school.
Oh. Prison labor.
Oh, that's fair.
Tibbles isn't dead, so I guess that punch to the fucking cave roof that Amity gave him didn't kill him, which is kind of sad. I wanted my girl Amity to have a body count. But beyond that, I think Amity looks great in the future. She's got the fucking Jack from ME3 hair. She's dressed like a little messily, like she's a ramshackle swashbuckling adventurer. I think that's a good look for her. I think Amity and Gus of like the main group come away from this looking the best.
It is interesting how we never find out exactly what happened to Odalia.
Yeah, really. We see her just kind of standing there when
I would have liked to have found out that she was basically like fucking living in squalor. That would have been fun. Amity reuniting with Alador. Just that was so cute. I like how Amity and her father, like, they had a more organic reunion than is done in a lot of these things where like, it takes a little while for Amity and Alador to like really build a relationship back, but like now they're good. They're a real father and daughter now.
I wish Jim Peary was my dad.
Yeah, I wish Jim Peary was my dad. Little things that are cute. I think if they had tried to make a big thing out of like Darius and Alador this late, it would have been pretty fucking hollow.
Yeah, it's fine.
Fucking Rain having the Sylvanas tear marks.
I don't like the fact that Rain has to live with like a permanent scar of violence given against them, but at the same time, I do like tear scars. It reminds me of Banshees, and I like Banshees. Okay, so the show as a whole.
Oh, it had such a promising start. We are on the verge of greatness. We were this close.
We were on the verge of greatness, but this close. I hate this because the phrase is always used for Steven Universe, but like it could have been great. Like I said, it's the same problem every adventure fantasy show has. You have a good thing going, and all you have to do is just not fuck with it. And what do every time they start fucking with it? They can't just let a good idea stand. They've got to start shoving in the anime references. They've got to start trying to be subversive. The creator desperately wants you to think they are clever.
I've got a bit of a roundabout to talk about this, but I'm going somewhere with this, so bear with me. I recently, for the first time, sat down and watched the 2000 and I think it was 16 massive Hollywood hit La La Land. It was supposed to be up for Best Picture. It lost to Moonlight, and for a while people were kind of decisive on whether or not the movie was any good or not. Having a white guy be the one who's saving jazz, is that a good thing? But at the end of the day, The movie is very boring. It talks a big game about being old Hollywood, but can't actually nut up where it needs to shut up. And then, right at the end, there is a scene in which the two characters, now older, now having accomplished their dreams, meet again, and it morphs for a moment into this big, bold love letter to Singin' in the Rain type musicals that's loud and bombastic and colorful and creative, and I have never felt so utterly betrayed by a movie. Because once you do something like that, you prove to your audience that you have the capability to do better. And because of that, you hate the product even more upon retrospect. Dana Terrence makes me feel that way. Rebecca Sugar, I truly believe, cannot do better. Darren Nevsky, I truly believe, cannot do better. Dana Terrence proved to me that she could do better. She kept doing better, and right when I trusted her the most, she decided to stop trying. And therefore, I think I hate this one the most.
These days, I have a lot more positive feelings about Steven Universe, but kind of the same way you have positive feelings about The Room, because, you know, it's just nice to see a show that is bad for the simple reason of the creator being completely fucking inept. Like, I would love to see Rebecca Sugar's next project. You know, just by virtue of Rebecca Sugar, being Rebecca Sugar, it is going to be loaded with weeb shit and loaded with her master-slave fetish.
Oh, yeah, it'd be great. It'd be hysterical. It'd be awful, but it'd be great.
Yeah, it'd be like watching it. You know, it'd be like watching a Klansman trying to tap dance.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's like all of the Hitler shit and Jojo Rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
But with Dana, you had this chance to make really good art, and you just chose not to.
It's the choosing that gets me. Not everyone can make something good, but when you have the capability to make something good, and you make the active decision not to, you're far worse than anybody who just couldn't hack it.
I think this is kind of what fundamentally separates a bland show from a bad show, because with Steven Universe, I challenge you to find a show that is more car crash fascinating than that. Whereas The Owl House, like I said, it had the promise, and the ways in which it chose to become shit, it's just the same boring shit every adventure fantasy show does. It starts with a good premise, and then it's just okay, it's time to stop being unique and interesting, and it's time to start being just like everything else.
If there's one thing that I think I have taken away from the experience of starting The Owl House when it first came out and finishing it all the way now, it's that the best thing for anyone to do to themselves, and this is a call to the audience, find more things to like. Not just things in your wheelhouse, not just things that seem like your thing. Really branch out, really find new things that could really be for you. The more things that you have that you like, the less these things hurt when they fail, and the less you feel inclined to hold on to them for dear life when they start to fail. I started this show, and I had maybe 2 other shows similar to it that I was watching at the time. By the time this is finished, do you know what I have spent the last week watching? I watched Boots Riley's Sorry to Bother You, a surrealist comedy about capitalism and how it affects the black community. I watched an old black western called The Harder They Fall. I've played a ton of Borderlands. I've started Big City Greens and fallen in love with it. I've watched Ghost and Molly McGee. I've started Columbo, which is way more fun than even Tumblr people are willing to give it credit for, and I wouldn't have done any of that if I was still in the mindset that I was when I started Owl House. If I was still in the mindset of I've gotta watch things that I know I like. I watched Star Wars for the first time last year, and I loved every minute of it. Please, find more things to like, because it hurts a lot less when things like this fail.
I actually had a bit of a watershed moment a couple of months ago in that, you know, I used to really like reading about people's faith and reading about theology and shit. It was one of the things that my ex coerced me into to stop doing. And it kind of clued into me while I was working on something else. It's shit, actually, I really like a lot of this stuff. I was doing this thing for a post about I was looking for information about death gods, and I found like a list of them online, and it was just about 10 of them, and it's like the usual, the Greek and the Romans and the Celtic ones, the ones everyone obsesses about. But the one at the very bottom was like the fucking coolest one. It was Mama and Bridget, and like reading about all of them was like really cool, but reading about this one in particular was really fucking. It's like it kind of sparked that old interest in theology with me again. So I actually bought a book on. I bought 2 books. I bought a book on Haitian voodoo, and I bought a book of Jewish folktales.
Ooh.
And I've been loving those. And it's like, I used to just love reading about that, about all that stuff for fun. I used to love reading about like folk tales and like other cultures. I used to love doing that for fun. And like my ex kind of took that away from me. And it's like, you know what? I'm getting back into it.
Ooh.
Hell yeah. That sounds awesome.
And it's actually made me kind of annoyed at the fact that everyone just keeps focusing on Greek gods.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Greek and Norse.
that's super fair.
I actually, the book of folktales I bought was the one from that post about the Corpse Bride.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Shit. I wish I had something more profound to say about closing notes, but that was one of the few things I didn't have notes on. I was just focused on the episodes. As Ginger said, it's probably best to keep your media diet as diverse as you can, and I've been trying to do that lately. I've been playing a shit ton of Mass Effect, which, after watching Lily play so much of it, and I've been loving it. Still need to finish 3. I'm on a Citadel DLC, but on top of that, I've also been branching out, trying to watch new stuff. Lily and I have been watching Living Single with Sketchy?
Oh yeah, we haven't done that in a while though.
True, but like enough so that it's keeping my media diet a bit diverse. It could stand to be more diverse, but you know, that's something I'll worry about. I do recognize that my personal wheelhouse is romance. As disappointing and how betrayed I could feel at the Owl House. I mean, Lumity was still very good, so I can't say for certain I'm ever going to put this show behind me. Like, I mean, I'm not going to like continue to obsess over it, but there's probably going to be there's probably going to come a time where I look back at season 1 or check out some of the season 2 episodes I really like if I'm feeling nostalgic, because
I mean, I'm a little different in that, like, when I branch my media diet out, like, for the most part, when I branch out my media diet, I tend to go for nonfiction. Like, I haven't read a fiction book in, like, 15 years.
Yeah, I saw you made a post about that.
Yeah, I usually read nonfiction, like history books, philosophy books, usually philosophy books other than the ones everyone reads. I'm not interested in reading about philosophy it's like a philosophy from Dracula, Do You Love the Sky?
I read a memoir from Glennon Doyle called Untamed. That was really good. It was pretty white, but it was still pretty good.
I read this fantastic book. It was a recollection of events that happened in that kid reality show, Kid Nation, told from the perspective of the only 2 sisters who were on it. And it's a fascinating read for anybody who's curious about like the depravity of the reality TV state at the time. I've also been meaning to sit down and read I'm Happy My Mom Died, Jeanette McCurdy's memoir.
But like, yeah, I tend to read like I tend to go with nonfiction, and like, hell, I've been watching a lot of documentaries lately. Sometimes professional documentaries, sometimes documentaries. I find a lot of documentaries on YouTube. I recently just watched the documentary about Killdozer.
Oh yeah, that's a great story.
Like, it is interesting how, like, in the first half of that documentary, it kind of starts out with like the usual, oh, I'm a working class man who's being put upon by the government. And like, it kind of paints it like this guy who is just like pushed to his breaking point. But then at the second half, it swerves to where like most of them go, we had no idea he was even angry, and all of his fucking recordings about how he's a fucking soldier of God, and then it's just like, wow, this really was a white guy who encountered minor inconveniences and threw a fucking mantrum. That was a very interesting documentary.
You know, for what it's worth, McKay, I also feel like at the end of the day, I'm never gonna cut myself off from Owl House. I mean, brought me closer to you two. Had a great time with it. Even if it sucked the big dick by the end, blew the glass dick, hey, I have some of my best memories because of this show. And that's worth something.
Aww.
I think, like, making this podcast is the most fun I've had with the Owl
Yes.
House since, like, season 2 started.
Yeah, really.
And look, for all of its problems, it is one of the few cartoons that did gay rep right.
True.
Lumity is still fucking top tier. But I guess that kind of reinforces the point. Dana can do better, and
Yep, that's unfortunate.
the problem was in season 2B, she stopped trying.
If it was Burnout, I get it, but...
I think it was indulgence.
Yeah.
I honestly think it was just indulgence. But yeah, I do think a lot of the fans of adventure fantasy and story-driven cartoons need to just watch other stuff. Like, it's kind of like what we say to Potterheads, like, read another fucking book.
Watch another show.
Yeah.
Read some old, like, you know what? You like fantasy and you like this kind of story, read folktales. Just read some folktales. Not Greek folktales, not Celtic folktales. Read folktales from, like, other countries.
Yeah, get out there. There's a whole world to explore of all sorts of different stories from different people with different lived experiences that are probably exactly what you're looking for.
Just, like, read about other cultures. I got this ask a little while, like, yesterday. Somebody asking me, it's like, how to write a Muslim girl in a way that's, like, subtle and not making her faith, like, the entirety of her character. And I actually said to her, I think you might be asking the wrong person, because I think learning about how a character relates to their own faith and their culture and how that influences their relationships with, like, other people and their family, I think that's really interesting. I would love to read that story.
Oh, yeah, this is probably really white girl of me to say, but, like, watched RRR earlier this year, and, like, you want to talk about a really cool movie about another culture made by a different culture? That shit was awesome. It's a Tollywood film. It's been entirely dubbed in English on Netflix. It won the Oscar for Best Original Song, and it's one of, like, the best movies I've ever seen. And it's entirely about, like, the actual, it is about British colonization and two separate people from two separate, tribes going in to stop the British colonizers for different reasons. Well, any other closing thoughts before we finally end this and hopefully come back sometime with a better show to talk about next time?
Let's see.
Ida, Rain, and Camila are in a polycule, and you're gonna have to bring back the show to prove me wrong, Dana.
Oh, no. Ida, Rain, Camilla, Darius, and Alador are all in a polycule.
Ooh. Oh.
They've got one very big bed.
Let's be honest, everyone in that show, it's like everyone in that group is bi. Also, Hunter and Willow broke up, and Willow's now in a polycule with Luz and Amity, and you're gonna have to bring the show back to convince me otherwise.
Skara, she actually killed Hunter and became the next palisman decorator and carver. And is also dating Willow. Prove me wrong, Dana.
But, yeah, that's the Owl House. Great start. Careened right into a fucking mountain toward the end.
It's like a souffle that collapses.
You hate to see it. Pull up, Dana. Pull up! You know I don't like it when you do that. Alright. Well, ain't that disappointing.
Ain't it just?
Toodles!